Hey friends, welcome back to another magical movie review. It's me, Magic Molly, and I'm here to bring you the next magical movie review in the Harry Potter series for Deathly Hallows Part 2. If you've never been here before, definitely go ahead and head on over to my page. While you're over there, hit the subscribe button, but I have all the other reviews that we've done so far for the Harry Potter series, and that may help you to catch up to where we are today. Also, we break these magical movie reviews down into 5 major sections. We've got the magical recap, where I bring you the quickest summary of the movie that I can so far to bring you back up to speed if it's been a while since you watched the movie. I also do magical moments, things that I like about the movie, Enchanting Efforts, which are things that don't land so well with me or leave big question marks over my head. Then we also select a VMP, or very magical person, and then we end it all off with our rankings of the Wizarding World movies so far. So today will be the last movie in the Harry Potter series, but we will also be including the Fantastic Beasts movies in this series, so we can have one full Wizarding World synopsis together. I'm wearing my best Harry Potter Part 2 shirt today. It's a hybrid of Hogwarts and Jurassic Park, as you can see, and I figured that that was the most appropriate since this is the movie of the Battle of Hogwarts, which is essentially all of the Jurassic Parks rolled into one. So we'll get started with the magical recap. Again, this is just a quick synopsis of the movie. Try to bring it to you as quickly as I possibly can. I did write it down on my phone, so I will be reading it there, because no, I don't memorize these, because that's a lot for one person to commit to every week. The trio buries Dobby. They decide to steal the next Horcrux, which they have figured out is in Bellatrix's vault at Gringotts. After they steal it, Harry and Voldy sync up, to which Harry realizes that the next Horcrux belongs to Rowena Ravenclaw and is hidden at Hogwarts. So they go there, and on the way they meet Dumbledore's brother, Dumbledore. Then the Battle of Hogwarts begins. The team destroys both Horcruxes they have. Harry realizes that the snake, Nagini, is the next Horcrux, so they go find her, but instead are witness to Snape's murder. Snape gives Harry his last tears to look into the pensieve and see that he has always loved his mother Lily, and that Dumbledore has figured out that Harry is the last Horcrux that Voldemort never meant to make, which means he has to die. So while everyone is mourning the deaths of their friends and family so far, Harry takes to the Forbidden Forest one last time where Voldemort kills him. Or so he thinks. Like the asshole that he is, Voldemort makes Hagrid carry Harry's body back to the castle, where Neville makes a speech about revenge and finds the Sword of Gryffindor in the Sorting Hat. Then, surprise, Harry isn't dead. The battle continues. Neville kills the snake with the sword. Harry uses the trusty old Expelliarmus to vaporize Voldemort. And then the trio grows up and sends their kids off to Hogwarts. This is a very action-heavy movie. The plot of the movie itself, just in Part 2, is very simple. Like, we're at Hogwarts for the majority of the movie, which is so different from Part 1, because Part 1 is we're trying to hunt Horcruxes here. So we'll jump right into magical moments. For magical moments, I stick to the highlights, the major things that really give me goosebumps or make me emotional or have really powerful meaning in the movie. So one of the first things that was a really big magical moment for me was really the whole Gringotts experience in the beginning, but specifically revolving around the dragon. I love animals. I always have a soft spot for those, and seeing an animal, even something as dangerous as a dragon, being tortured and used as a defense mechanism for material goods just is horrifying to watch. So watching them shake those bells and seeing the dragon like cower in fear, this huge majestic creature being like terrified of a noisemaker, is appalling. But then to have almost that instant gratification of Hermione rescuing the dragon is such a great feeling, and they're using it to their advantage, of course, to escape, but it's a mutually beneficial escape here. So being able to see the dragon fly off and spread its wings and really be able to go out into the world and do its own thing, huge magical moment for me. The next biggest magical moment for me, of course, is when Harry gets back into Hogwarts Snape has learned that Harry is in the castle, somehow has broken onto the grounds, and he collects all of the students in the Great Hall, and Harry steps out and is like, I'm here, motherfucker, and like they do that whole scene with the Order of the Phoenix walking in. But specifically to follow that, Snape draws his wand on Harry, which is surprising, but that gives McGonagall an opportunity to step in between them. That is a extremely powerful moment to say that these two people that honestly do love their school so much and were truly loyal to Dumbledore for not so obvious reasons, clearly because Snape is accused of killing Dumbledore, which he did. Nobody knows the reason why. It's heartbreaking to see them fighting, and you can see it in Snape's eyes that he's so mortified by the fact that he realizes that he's gonna have to fight the people that he loves so much. And other than that moment, Snape is very reserved from the Battle of Hogwarts anyway. As he's fighting McGonagall, it was pointed out to me many years after watching the film a few times, when McGonagall throws one of the spells at him, Snape uses a defensive spell to kind of ricochet that over to the Carrows, the brother and sister who've also been kind of working their magic at the school. It's so subtle and it happens so fast that you didn't realize that it's happening. So even in the heat of battle where he's like fighting McGonagall, really he's only using defensive spells. He's not really attacking her. And he's using his power and her magic to take out people on his own side. So that's an incredible magical moment. And of course it says a lot to his character that even though he was responsible for killing Dumbledore, he watched one of his fellow teachers die in the previous movie, the Muggle Studies teacher, that he's willing to take out people on his own side because he respects McGonagall that much. And I think that says a lot about him. And then of course, to go on to say that the next really big magical moment for me is Snape's memories. Kind of the whole moment of Snape dying and looking into Harry's eyes and saying the thing that everybody has said in every movie so far, you have your mother's eyes. But something about the way that he says it is so incredibly comforting, and to me means a little bit more. Harry is in full hatred of this man, still trying to help him because that's just who Harry is as a person, but they have such an intimate moment there at the end. I think that makes up for their misunderstanding of each other and the fact that they've spent so many years hating each other, to really say that like they have this one thing in common, and that's Lily. And love, for that matter, which rises above all else. And then of course, Harry takes his tears, takes it to the Pensieve, and that is the moment when we all realize that Snape is one of our favorite characters. He's been through so much. Of course, everybody has their own faults, and he's not a perfect human, but we're also realizing that Snape is so much more a part of Harry's history. Snape was the one that warned Dumbledore that Voldemort was going to come after him. Snape is the one that was teaching him occlumency because he knew about the connection between Voldemort and Harry and trying to teach him to keep the Dark Lord out. And also being willing to kill someone that has protected you for so long and be a part of this plan, knowing that Harry is part of the greater plan and being willing to commit to it. And that Snape has come to care for Harry because of Lily, and it just makes him more human. It makes their stories so intertwined in a way that we haven't seen it before. It also brings you peace to Dumbledore's death. Of course, like if you were watching it for the first time through and you of course didn't know what was coming, this gives you a little bit of comfort in knowing that Dumbledore knew exactly what was going to happen and that he had a hand in how his own death was going to play out. It stings just a little bit less. Not it doesn't erase what happened, but it just stings just a little bit less. Another really big magical moment or magical theme is just the battle overall. How willing everybody is to sacrifice what they have to because they know what they're fighting for and they know that it's right. And I think that speaks volumes to everybody's individual character in the movie, but it's also very well translated to real life. Anything worth fighting for comes with sacrifice. And we get a little bit of comfort in the moments where Harry is going off to meet Voldemort in the woods, and he uses the resurrection stone to talk to the people that have meant the most to him, that have died in his life. So his parents, Sirius Black and Remus Lupin. And when he's talking to Lupin and he's almost apologizing for his death, knowing that him and Tonks just had a son, Lupin is very serene. One, because he's dead. Dead people tend to be mostly serene in this movie, or in these movies. In his mind, it's not even a question of, like, was their death even worth it? He said one day he will understand why his parents had to die and that it was worth dying for. And it wasn't about Harry. They didn't die for Harry, and Harry feels like it was, but it was really just for the peaceful union of the wizarding world and not oppressing a certain race, magical or non-magical. Lots of emotions, lots of feelings, a lot of pain in this film, a lot of death of some really wonderful characters that we've all grown to love, but at the same time, a lot of emotional support from, honestly, the dead. We get a lot of emotional support from Snape, Dumbledore, the parents, Lupin, Black. All these people that have died are coming out of the woodwork to say, you know what, it's fine. You're gonna be okay. And I think a lot of us needed to hear that in this movie. So we'll go right on to Enchanting Efforts. I actually didn't have very many, like, bad moments. So coming up with an Enchanting Effort list was, I wouldn't say difficult. I came up with a few, but it wasn't really a bunch of things that I hated about the movie. Now, if we're talking about things that were left out from the books, that's a whole different story. But if we're just talking about the movie itself and what we're able to see, I only have a couple things. So the first, it's after they escape from Gringotts and Harry sees Voldemort. He's killing a bunch of people at Malfoy Manor because he's pissed, because he knows that the cup is gone. And we cut to the Malfoy Manor and we see Griphook has been killed with the Sword of Gryffindor in his hand. One big question that I have is, do they think it's the fake? And even if they weren't sure, they just let him die with it in his hands, and then it like fades out and disappears, and then we don't see it again until the end of the movie with Neville in the Sorting Hat. Not like they really could do a whole lot about it, because the Sword of Gryffindor is going to go to the most deserving person in that moment anyway, but I'm surprised that Voldemort doesn't realize that that is such a significant piece of how they're getting these Horcruxes destroyed. It's just surprising to me that he just walks by, like we literally see his feet walk by Griphook. So unless he's just totally missing it, he should have seen it on the floor and picked it up and taken it with him, or told somebody to pick it up. I don't know, I just feel like there's a big cloud of mystery around that part, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. Another thing that I feel, the next big thing I think is more ironic. The good side is being a little bit of a hypocrite here. When after McGonagall and Snape do their fight, McGonagall kind of takes back over, she turns the lights on, and she tells Filch to take all of the Slytherin students and put them in the dungeon. Just like off the bat, like doesn't even ask them, hey, does anybody support Harry Potter? Does anybody like get a temperature check real quick before just assuming all of Slytherin House wants to turn Harry in? Pansy Parkinson, who I hate, I think her character is the worst. She points at him and says, well, what are we waiting for? Somebody grab him, and nobody moves. That's probably a key indicator that Slytherin house, for the most part, either is scared and they don't want to do anything, or they don't agree with Pansy Parkinson in that moment. I just think it's a little bit unnecessary for McGonagall just to be like, all right, everybody go to the dungeon, or Slytherin house, go to the dungeon. Like, I don't know. I feel like there was room for growth here. I feel like this was a teaching moment, if you will, and they didn't really get that. I don't really know how Hagrid couldn't have told if Harry was alive. Granted, apparently Harry's really good at playing dead. Narcissa Malfoy does a great job of lying and saying he's dead. But if Hagrid is holding him, yes, he can go limp and keep his eyes closed for, let's say, 10 minutes. It takes them 10 minutes to walk from the Forbidden Forest to the castle. Is Hagrid not looking at Harry at all? Could he not tell that he is breathing? Or is Harry really good at holding his breath? Like, I kind of get the other people around them not noticing, because one, they're marching forward, but also Hagrid is tall, so Harry's like a little bit above their eyesight. But it just doesn't make any sense to me that Hagrid can't see in or feel Harry breathing / his heartbeat, because you can't, if you're alive, you have to breathe and have to have a heartbeat, right? Like, bare minimum. I just don't understand how he could have not known anyway. It's just weird. I just think it's weird. And also, just as a last comment, Lucius Malfoy will always be a little bitch. So the next part is our VMP. It really wasn't hard to pick one. I think Snape is going to be my VMP. He is, from the beginning of the movie, stepping into this role. He has earned the trust of Voldemort and the new ministry to be trusted as the new Hogwarts headmaster. So that's impressive that he's done that with his given history with the Death Eaters. And even in that position of power, it's so easy to give in to the people that are comforting you and accepting of you, which in this case for him is the Death Eaters. But even then, he still doesn't waver and, of course, protects the students and fights McGonagall and takes out the Carrows. So he wins points for that. He also wins points for, ultimately, throughout the entire series, and then we're learning all of this in this moment, he's been protecting Harry all this time. Every time one of the other Death Eaters wants to kill Harry Potter, he's usually one of the ones to step in and say, no, it has to be Voldemort. One, because he knows that that has to happen from Dumbledore's perspective, but also he is protecting Harry and giving him more time. And he's even using his last tears, his last moments to save Harry and really bring the story forward into helping us understand that people on both sides have their own story to tell, and that not one person is inherently good or bad. It's just where their cards lie and how they were dealt that hand. Harry was a close second, mainly because I just really respect Harry's tenacity and ability to just toss the Elder Wand over the bridge into Hogwarts, because he recognizes that not one person should have all of this power. Especially someone that's 17 years old, that has seen so much in his lifetime. Of course, he knows that that wand could be used for good, but at the same time, like, we're going against the natural order of things to change what's going on. So I do respect that, and I wanted that to be some credit given to him, but ultimately I think it's Snape. That's my VMP. Now we're moving on to the last segment, which is, of course, just ranking my Wizarding World favorites so far. This one I didn't really have a hard time placing. There's a couple things that I take into account when I'm ranking these movies. First and foremost is just personal preference based on, like, my gut reaction. And I also take into consideration the number of magical moments versus enchanting efforts. There may be more enchanting efforts that I chose for some of the movies below or above the current movie that we're on, or more or less enchanting efforts. That's a part of it. I primarily trust my gut, but I take the magical moments and enchanting efforts that I've written down to help my gut from time to time if I'm trying to decide between two movies. So, as of now, the list goes Prisoner of Azkaban, Half-Blood Prince, Order of the Phoenix, Deathly Hallows Part 1, Sorcerer's Stone, Deathly Hallows Part 2, Chamber of Secrets, and Goblet of Fire. I did toggle back and forth between Deathly Hallows Part 2 and Sorcerer's Stone, but honestly, if I were to say, hey, I'm in the mood to watch some Harry Potter, which is most of my days, if I had a choice between Sorcerer's Stone and Deathly Hallows Part 2, I might watch Sorcerer's Stone more often. Just because it has a little bit of that nostalgic factor for me, and it's building a lot of the plot that we're then seeing in Deathly Hallows Part 2. And Deathly Hallows Part 2 is mostly action film, which there's nothing wrong with, but I prefer a little bit more of a thought-provoking movie and trying to figure things out, where when we're in Deathly Hallows Part 2, most everything has been figured out other than Harry being the last Horcrux, and even then we still have our kind of notes and hints throughout the movies so far. Still not a bad ranking, but I'd love to hear your rankings. Comment below if you have any thoughts on my rankings so far, or if you would like to share your ranking of the Harry Potter films. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my page if you want to watch more magical movie reviews. And also make sure that you head on over to Instagram and follow me at MagicXMolly. I hope you guys have a wonderful week and a magical Monday.